last night. Avengers Assemble. Everybody goes off and does their things, you know. You just keep doing what you're doing and don't listen to anybody. Don't listen to people that help build your business. You're going to be in trouble. Package. Warranties, the drones, the infrared cameras. All that stuff's included for the price of inspection. And then we're doing that because we're doing everything we can to make sure we provide as much. What we have done is meeting people, taking care of people, and showing them that we care. It's all about you care. I care about what I do. I want to take care of my clients. I want them to know what they're buying. Communication. For a home inspector, that's one of the biggest skills you can have. Communication is fine. Like, I can read people. I've always been really good at that. I can talk to somebody. I know what their concerns are. We will always be professional. We'll always be thorough, and we'll always take care of you. Anytime you have a question about your house, if you send me an email, I'll respond.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Nothing Fancy. This is Kevin Salinas, and I am here with Jordan Radloff. How you doing, brother? Good, man. Thanks for having me, Kevin. I'm really happy to be here. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. We tried to connect a little bit earlier, but we had some windstorms that kind of delayed everybody.
Kept you busy, huh?
Oh, yeah.
You like those big windstorms, those thunderstorms, huh? They get you to get the business.
They happen every spring. Every spring.
Yeah, we get... here in Toledo, pretty flat, and down south in Bowling Green and stuff, it's so flat. Yeah, when we get high winds, it causes some damage.
And Jordan is owner of Erie Inspections, correct? Yep. And, one of the things I was looking at your logo the other day, and I really like it. It's very, and this is the questions I was going to ask you down the road, but I really like it. It seems like a very, unique, it kind of feels like just a big corporation. Yeah. You know what I mean? I really like it. It's bold. Yeah. How did I guess let's start from the very beginning here. Okay. Tell us about you, Jordan. Born and raised in Toledo?
No. So born and raised in Bellevue, Ohio. Okay. So it's a little farm town south of Sandusky. It's probably about 20 minutes, all cornfields. There's not a whole lot there. But that is where I grew up. That's kind of where my dad, his parents moved there from, I think, Lima when he was in high school. Yeah. So he spent most of his life there, all of his adult life there. He started a construction business. Okay, so out of high school, he kind of got in with a guy that had a construction business. Yeah. They partnered up. They became H&R Construction. Mm-hmm. And so he was right out of high school. He became a business owner, and he was doing construction. And he ended up buying the other guy out and kept the name. And he ran the construction business for a while. And I guess next month, actually May, you said May 1st, we're going to actually celebrate 37 years in business. So my dad was one of the first home inspectors in Ohio. 37 years ago, nobody got home inspections. This is a very new profession. Before that, there was no, you get an inspection and then we're going to negotiate on what you find. Right. You're lucky if you had somebody you knew that built houses or could tell you some stuff before you bought the house.
Is that Ohio, just Ohio, or was it nationwide?
No, nationwide. So what was happening is my uncle was some people may have heard me on podcasts and heard some of this before. So if I'm boring you, sorry. But my uncle he's a plumbing foreman for Cedar Point. Okay. And this was kind of right before he got big up in Cedar Point. He was kind of starting off, I think. And he went to my dad and was like, hey, these home inspections are getting really big on the East Coast and West Coast. All these people that are moving from these bigger cities to the Midwest, they're looking for someone that does home inspections. Mm-hmm. He's like, I think we should take some classes and we should we should learn how to do this. He goes, I think we could make some side money, and I think we both can do it. I'm a plumber, you're a general contractor. And so my dad took classes together. They were going to do it. My uncle got too busy. He got with Cedar Point. I don't think he ever did a home inspection.
What year was this?
This was 1989.
89. Wow.
Yeah. So this was 2 years after I was born. And so very new, new profession, new. My dad started taking classes, got into it. Started doing them on nights and weekends, just anytime you could fill. And he said his first year he did 7. He did 6 or 7 inspections. Yeah. So, it started, so it started real basic, just kind of getting his feet wet in it. But because he was a builder, he was a custom home builder, and he had H&R Construction, he had a good repertoire with, realtors and stuff. Right. So he did have so anybody that was coming in and were looking for one, they would go to him because he was the only one doing them in the area.
But at that time, people didn't even know what a home inspection was, did they? At least people in the Midwest.
Yeah, not at all. No, so, it was very, very new.
So how, if you can answer this, how did he provide? How did he make sure that they understood the value of a home inspection?
I think he that's a good question. I remember he told me one of his favorite stories to tell was that one time he was sitting there, and this was when he was very new, like first year or two doing it, and he was charging like $200 for inspection. I mean, it was like $150, something like that. And he said that he went through the report with the people and everything, and the house was in pretty good shape. There really wasn't much to talk about. And the realtor looked at him and said, "How do you justify charging these people this money for what you just did?" And he was just like, "What?"
Right.
Like, huh? And he just said he caught him off guard. And he was like, exactly. She doesn't understand the value of what we do.
Right.
Most people don't. Most people, what people think a home inspection is and what a home inspection is, or like even a lot of realtors, I don't think they quite understand it.
Can you elaborate on that a little
Yeah,
bit?
I think for one thing, a lot of people confuse us in an appraisal. Appraisal is not the same as a home inspection. Right. Appraisal is telling you the value of the home. They're going to come in 15, 20 minutes. They're going to kind of walk through the house. They're looking for any major red flags, any foundation issues, mold, water, whatever. The condition of appliances, stuff, but it's pretty quick, okay?
Yeah.
Home inspection, we take our time. We're going to give you the condition of the home. We're going to tell you, is that furnace working like it's supposed to? Is there some asbestos in the basement?
Yeah.
Is there, you need to clean your gutters, But I think the biggest thing is that, like, especially for a lot of realtors, and this is kind of something I've been going around telling them all recently a lot, is I think they get that report. A lot of realtors are fixers. They are, they see something and they know they got to get to that closing table. So they got to get it. They're going to resolve it. They're going to fix it all.
Right.
You can't look at a home inspection report like that. So a home inspection report is like a roadmap. It's like a game plan of living in that house and all the things you're going to have to do to it as you live there. And that's why we color code things. We say, this is something, your foundation's caving in, this is major, okay?
Yeah.
You're cleaning your gutters out, you extending the downspouts. That's easy stuff that you could do. That's not a big deal. But sometimes they get it and people get very overwhelmed because it's so much. It's like, I got to do all this tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's not what we're telling you. This is a game plan.
Yeah.
If there's something immediate, we're going to tell you this is immediate, but there's going to be lots of stuff on a home inspection that you have to expect that you're going to have to do, maintenance that you have to do, things you have to monitor, you got to keep your eyes on, I just think there's so many people that they don't quite get that. They just think that we're telling you everything has to be done tomorrow. And the really important part of that is a home inspector can't make anybody do anything. We're giving recommendations. We're going to go in there. I'm going to tell you, this is my professional opinion of the property. These are my recommendations. You don't have to listen to anything I say. You can take that and nobody has to do anything.
It's so interesting because a lot of people use your reports or an inspection report as leverage, like, oh, this has to be done, or now we have to negotiate this, or now we have to negotiate that. And I've seen both sides of the table. I've seen where people are like anxious on an everybody's like waiting on that final inspection to like go at it, like, oh, you need the roof, or no, you need this, you need that.
And it depends on the person. It depends on our client. How you use. I am an information provider. A lot of people think of us. They think of us as contractors. I'm not a contractor. I don't do what you do.
Right.
I don't repair anything. I don't diagnose anything.
Yeah.
I find the problem and I tell you there's a problem here. This isn't installed correctly. This is leaking. This is broken.
Yeah.
This isn't operating as intended. Now you need to go talk to the contractor. You need to figure out what's going on here and what needs to be done. That's really, really important because I'm more like a detective. I'm an information provider.
Yeah.
So I go in and you give me 3 hours inside a house. I'm going to tell you a lot about that house.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, I can't see through the walls, but I'm going to use infrared camera. I'm going to use drones. I'm going to be able to give you a good, by the time you give me 3 hours and we're done, I'm going to have you a pretty good scope of what's going on in this house and you're going to understand. You pay me to go in and get all that information. Sometimes it gets crazy. Sometimes you got, the seller's there with you. He wants to follow you around and on top of you, and the buyer's there and the seller's there and everybody's.
They think you're an adjuster or something.
Yes. Yeah. They're all like, and they're going to weigh on you, I'm going to fix that. I'm going to fix that. It doesn't matter what you're going to fix. It matters what I see right now. This is what I'm going to report. And this is what I got to move on. It's what I seen at the condition at the time I did it.
And depending on who you tell that, you're either the good guy or the bad guy.
That's right. And I'm always the bad guy to somebody. That's the thing that stinks about my job. No matter what I do, I could, sometimes even my client. Sometimes my client may not be happy. We do a lot of like single component inspections, like roof inspections. Like say you guys put a roof on or somebody's not happy and then they're going to call me and they say, hey, we might take this to litigation. Will you come out here and evaluate my roof? Tell me what's wrong with it. And then we come out, we say, looks pretty good.
Right.
Like, there's not really anything wrong. Like, well, this and this and this. It's like, well, there's nothing wrong with that roof.
Yeah.
We have to be honest. And then they get mad at us because it's like, well, we wanted you to say this. It's not what you want me to say. It's what I have to be honest. I have to be unbiased. That's what you're paying me for.
I'm going to tell you a really funny story. This just happened to me the other day. I went to a realtor called our office. She's like, hey, can you please go to this house today and inspect the roof? We got an inspection that the granules were in the gutter and all this. Just kind of made it a huge deal, So I'm like, okay, shoot, let me get out there. And, I look at it as an opportunity to possibly sell a roof, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I get out there and, keep in mind, I move things around to go there,
your own schedule.
The office is like, this is a done deal if we get, whatever. And so I get out there and I get on the roof, the homeowners come out, and everything. And this, a house in White House. And I'm looking at this roof and I'm like, this is in good condition. This is like, I see nothing wrong with this roof, and so they sent me the inspection report and they made this whole thing just because they saw some granules on the gutters. And because there was a little transition area where they used like the shingle as ridge cap.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's not practical, but it's not like
gonna be escapes out of there. It wears
exactly.
down
It just sticks out. You can notice it, but it's not going to cause an issue. Like and I call the realtor back. I'm like, yeah. There's like, she's like, do you recommend anything? Is there anything that we should negotiate? I'm like, no. This roof still has a good 10, 15 years. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe clean the gutter next year or something. I don't know.
Gutters. There's nothing wrong.
And she's like, all right, awesome, thank you.
That's the best news I heard
just
all
made
day.
it seem like this huge deal, and I go out there, thinking I'm going to save, I think I'm going to save this roof or something, and it's like, this roof is in perfect condition, and
that's the thing about home inspectors too, is, the interesting thing about home inspectors is, again, we've been doing this for a long time. My dad, has been doing it for a very long time. I've been doing it it'll be 12 years in September. So, and I came up to Toledo to grow our business in Toledo. So I came here about 12 years ago.
So I do want to talk about, I know we started talking right off the rip about inspection, but I do want to talk about your story. So, So you left Toledo. You left Ohio.
So, long ago, I went to school in Bowling Green. Okay. Had a lot of fun in Bowling Green.
College?
Yeah. I went and I was actually visual communication. So I did web design. So I was going to, that's what I was going to do. That's what podcasting, all this stuff is like. I'm a tech guy. I get tech. I'm always on the new things, new trends and stuff like that. So I went for VCT. I was going to do web design. I built many websites and then I just kind of got to this point. It was kind of like my junior year. And, I did tech prep through Hovey when I was back there. So I was going to college and getting college credits and doing VCT classes before I even got to Bowling Green. And I just kind of got to this point where I was like, I've been sitting behind a computer for all through high school, all through college. Like, I don't know if I want to just sit behind a computer anymore.
Right.
Like I really enjoyed doing it, but I was like, I don't know, maybe I need to do something else. And then, I was cooking at the time just as a side job. Like I was at Buffalo Wild Wings. I ran Jed's in Bowling Green for a little bit. I was kitchen manager there before they closed down. And, I was like, I don't know about this computer thing. I said, maybe I need to start getting into something else. So then I took a year off. I was like, I don't know if I want to go back to school. What do I do? So I moved, then I ended up moving back home to Bellevue. I was like living with my parents and trying to figure out what I want to do. I was working at another bar and grill in Clyde there. And I had some family that lived in Georgia. They lived in Atlanta. They'd been down there probably 10, 12 years. And they're like, what are you doing? Like, if you're going to cook, if you're going to be in a kitchen, come to Atlanta. Like, it's much better. There's lots of restaurants down here. I was like, that makes sense. So I went down there. I lived there for about 4 years. I worked in fine dining. I ran a bar and grill down there.
Did you like it? Did you like it?
I did. I love cooking. I did. It just, that too is that's a tough job. It's especially as like a kitchen manager, people not showing up. You're a lot of nights and weekends, your holidays, you're in the kitchen, just sweating and just, it's just, it's not, there's not much, it's a pretty thankless job, and I made pretty good money, but it was just I don't know how long I can do this for. And I was like, I don't know, either I need to come up with I'm going to go to culinary school and become a chef, or I'm going to continue to be a line cook and a kitchen manager. It's like, I don't know if I want to be a chef now. So,
how old are we at this point?
That was probably about 25, 24, 25. And, So then my cousin, he's like, okay, well, if you don't want to do that, he's like, I can get you another job. He's like, he worked at a pharmacy. So I went to a pharmacy, became a pharmacy tech, got my license for that. And it was the same thing. Like I maxed out there. I was there for about a year, and it was like $16 an hour.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, this is great. This is pretty good money for, I mean, in Atlanta. And I was just like, still, the cost of living's high here. Like, what am I going to do? And then at that time, I was talking with my dad and my mom, and the business was growing a little bit. And at this time, they had like 3 or 4 inspectors.
Yeah.
And so they were like, the business is growing. Like, well, you need a new marketing person. Like, you would be great. Like, you're great with the tech stuff and the web design and the social media and stuff. Like, you would be the perfect person. You'll have to go around and talk. So that was the idea. I was like, okay, I might come back and take this marketing job. Like, I kept going back and forth. Can I do this? Can I not do this? And then my dad just called me one day and he was like, hey, he's like, I know we've been talking about this marketing role and we thought you'd be really good for it, but I need home inspectors. He's like, I need guys to do inspections. And he's like, and I was like, well, what kind of money are we talking about? Like, I was like, I don't want to work for you again. Because then I didn't tell you this part, but in high school, when I got in trouble, I got taken to the job site with my guys' dads, or my dad would just drop me off at the job site with his foreman. Yeah. And he would be like, all right, you're grounded. Here you go. This is your job. Here's your day. Whatever they say, you're doing. Yeah. So they were jerks. I mean, they were just, pushing brooms, they would make me clean up everything. And then eventually, as I started getting older, it would be like, okay, you're old enough now. Like, let's teach you how to frame a wall. Yeah. Okay? Let's teach you how to put some shingles on. All right, we need the Bobcat. We got to move this dirt over here. Get in the Bobcat. We'll teach you how to run it, And so I was doing that in like high school, college. Those were my side jobs, after I started. So I did have some general knowledge in construction. Like I had done some. Right. And that's where he was like, you do got a good base. He's like, you got good common sense. Like, this would be a great job for you. And I was like, well, I don't know. I was like, what are they making? And then he showed me some of their paychecks for the summer. It was like $2,200, $2,300 a week. I was like, okay. I was like, well, maybe I'll come up try that. I was like, we'll see how it goes. He's like, I think you'll do good. Like, and I didn't know, I was like, I got a lot to learn. I got a lot to do. So I took him up on it. I packed all my stuff up in my truck. I sold everything I had in my apartment, put my dog in there, filled my car to the brim from the front to the back, and drove it back. Over the weekend, I think I started on September. I'll never forget, September 1st, 2014 is when I went into training. So I came back, started that first Monday. And at that time, he's doing 3 a day. He's doing 3 home inspections a day, probably about 5-6 days a week. So, and I was just jumped in and rode with him every day and just kind of got the feel for it. And at that time, there was no licensing. So that was what I wanted to talk about. Yeah. Home inspection licensing is really new. So it's only been a thing since 2019. Oh, wow. So since then, before then, nobody had to be licensed.
Anybody could just go and, I'm an inspector.
That's what I was going to get at about your story about the granules. The thing is now is you have to get a license to be a home inspector now. Yeah. Okay. There's a lot of different things you have to do to get that license. But one of the biggest things is the National Home Inspector exam. It's a pretty tough test.
Yeah. How many questions?
But there's probably 150 questions, something like that. And it's everything. It's time test too, and it's just general. Yeah. And you got sprinkler questions, you got pool questions, you got things, something that we don't even see a lot of, And it's a very tough test. But my thing is that, once licensing came, it kind of, now everybody's licensed. So everybody thinks we're all on the same playing field. No. Right. Just because you got somebody up there looking at the gutters telling you the granules and the gutters mean your roof is done, obviously doesn't know what they're talking about. Right. There's a lot of inexperience. And unfortunately, getting the license is tough, but it's not impossible for somebody to get it if you study. You know?
If you just know how to pass a test.
Exactly. It doesn't mean you're qualified to be doing this. And some of these schools and stuff, they rip these people out like real quick in 3 months or so. And they'll say, hey, I'll get you your own business. I'll get you a logo. We'll have you doing home inspection. No time you have your own business. You'll be your own boss. Yeah. And then they go and they get their business and they sit. Nobody calls. And that we pick up those guys all the time. There's I sat there again. I did maybe 5 inspections for the year. Like I just, and I just can't get the phone to ring. Like I'm doing everything right. I did everything the school told me. Right. But how come nobody's calling? It takes a long time to build your reputation. And again, you got to get those experiences where people see your value. Yeah. Like you were saying, like people don't understand the value of what we do. It's
kind of like even you think about like Owens Corning, and you got a hammer and 2 feet, and you can talk. You're Owens Corning,
Yes.
contractor. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, and but there's like you said, there's a difference in
difference.
the experience and versus 2 guys that can just I can knock out this roof for $5,000.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. Yeah, prices. That's the same thing with home inspections. It's like, okay, well, they're all the same. This guy only charges $350. Erie Inspection charges $500. What's the difference? $150. Like, we're just going to go with a $350, $100. It's $350. It's like, you got to be careful, okay? Because it's a big investment. What is $150 to one of the biggest investments you're going to make in your life? You're going to spend $500. That's well worth what we're going to tell you.
Exactly.
Even if, and again, we hope that everything's going to be great. We're going to find stuff, but at least you're going to have this roadmap. You're going to have all these ideas of things that, hey, I need this budget money for this down the road. I need to keep my eye on this. This looks like it was a problem before.
Right.
And it's just, there's a lot of competition now when we talk about home inspections, and it's really, really tough for these guys that are single man operators to compete with us. Somebody that's a multi inspector firm.
Yeah.
We got a couple in the area
and trusted and just been, you said 31,
37
years
in May. Yeah.
In May. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You guys have been around for a long time too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How many years you guys have been in business?
It's about 9 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. 9 years now.
Yeah. That's a long time. I mean, that's just, but it takes a long time to build trust, to build faith in you. But I do think that that's one thing about, the internet, the Google and the AI, is that we're starting to see such an uptick.
Yeah.
Probably I would still say, 70% of our business comes from realtors.
Yeah.
Referrals from realtors. So they're still a huge part of our business. But it used to be probably 80+%.
Yeah.
So really in the last couple of years, last 5 years, we're seeing a huge shift to, hey, I just Googled who's the best home inspector. I just asked AI, asked ChatGPT.
Right.
They gave us you. And we looked you guys up. You had 5 stars. You had almost 1,500 reviews.
Yeah.
It was a no-brainer. It's like, that's what we want to hear, because you doing the good work consistently over and over, people talk, especially nowadays. And if you do a bad job, they're going to talk too.
Exactly.
So you got to watch your social media presence. You got to watch those reviews. I think some businesses don't weigh those as much as they should be.
Right.
They think, it's just, the internet, some people complaining or something. You got to, how you respond to that bad complaint is just as good as responding to that good complaint.
That is one thing.
To
that. Yeah. That is one thing I, when I started, I started really quick backstory. I've been doing this roofing and construction probably 12, 13 years.
Okay.
9 years ago, I formed my LLC. But then in 2020 was when I officially started selling my own jobs.
Gotcha.
Before then I was subbing for other companies and stuff. And, but I've got, 6-7 years of experience before I started doing my own jobs. But since day one, my biggest thing has been reviews on Google, and I just shared the other day that we just hit 500 reviews.
That's awesome, man.
And thank you. And, to me, it was a huge achievement, but today, like the amount, I would say 50% of the calls that we get, how'd you find us? Google.
Yeah.
Google. They even say ChatGPT now.
I know. I've had people say it. They're like, really? They're like, yeah.
That's
like,
cool.
I just asked you the best ones. I'm like, that's great. Now I'm going and did it myself. I'm like, who's that? Like, oh, I'm the best. All right. That's what I wanted to hear. All right.
But I did want to ask you, so when you started getting into, being a home inspector, what was the difference between that and like cooking and all the other gigs you tried before? What was it that you were like, okay, this is actually something that I could do every day?
Yeah. So the one thing I'll say is, no matter what job I ever did, whether working for my dad, when I did construction, then I went into cooking, I went to the pharmacy, every restaurant I ever worked at, I rose to the top. I was always one of the top guys. I showed up for work on time. If they needed somebody to come in and jump in, I was there.
Yeah.
If I liked the job and I liked the guys I worked with, I was the go-to guy.
Yeah.
I would help, and I would usually rise to management. I'd become either whether a supervisor, kitchen manager, whatever they wanted to call it. Chef, they call it chef. I was never really a chef. But I have a very strong work ethic. So if I enjoy the business, I think they're taking care of me, I'm going to put my all into it. So when I came, I've always done that for every job. But when I came back to this, and it was like, okay, this is my family business.
Right.
Like, and when I came back, there was no plan to be owner.
Yeah.
There was just, you're going to be a home inspector. I'm going to make money. I'm going to come back, actually be able to start saving some money, be able to buy a house and, do all the things that I wanted to do. Cost of living is a lot cheaper around here.
Right.
But there was no, hey, you might run the company someday. No, that wasn't, we never had that discussion. We never had that talk. That was just, you're just going to come back to be a homesteader. We need help. Let's see how you do. And then as I got here, again, getting into this, I started seeing what it took and it's like, man, there's a lot to this. Like I got a lot to learn, but because it was a family business, there was a lot more pride and a lot more determination. And I worked really, really hard to get where I was.
Yeah.
And,
I did want to ask you that, like, because you said your father started the business, that put a lot of pressure on you to like, hey, like, okay, I got to keep this going.
Yeah. That's, and that's the one thing that I think has helped me a lot is I work very well under pressure. So, when I was in high school, I was a heavyweight wrestler. So, and when I used to wrestle, how it started is every match, you started at 103, you started with the littlest guy, and you ended with heavyweight.
Yeah.
So now they do a thing where they draw a random weight class, and they start at that weight class, and they rotate through, so it always changes.
Yeah.
They didn't do that when I was in high school. So it was always me. I wrestled heavyweight, and I was little. There was another guy he was probably bigger than me, but he wanted to wrestle 215, and he was older, so he's like, well, we need somebody to wrestle heavyweight in varsity. That's you. Yeah. Well, I weighed like 225, 230. I was wrestling 275. So I was kind of a little heavyweight, but I was fast and I had good endurance. Yeah. But it would come down to me a lot where, hey, Jordan, we're neck and neck. You have to win. If you don't win, our whole team loses. Because this is points. Same with tournaments. Yeah. You're the last match of the whole night at the tournament. If you don't win, our team's we're gonna get second. We're not gonna get first. Yeah. So, and I would win. And when I do the best
because of that pressure, it would just, you're like, okay,
I work very well under pressure. It makes me work harder and it makes me succeed. So I think that. Being that my dad was the owner and knowing like, I don't have it. There is no, like I already did A and B. I'm on plan C. Exactly. This is it. Like if I don't do this, what do I do? Yeah. Like, and this is my family business. So I better succeed.
And you had no plan D.
No, there was no plan D. We do this. Me and my girlfriend moved back from Florida. She was living in Florida. She moved up here and we rented a little house just down the street from where we're at now, where we bought our house. And it's like, she was like, I'm going to go to school. We had no money. We're just like, okay, this is gonna work. I'm gonna make this work. We're gonna make money. My first year I made like less than 30,000. Yeah. Training your first year of home inspector, it's a little rough. Yeah. Till you get in there. But yeah, I was like, there is no other option. So I have to make this work. And so I'm gonna do everything I can, and I'm gonna learn every mistake I make. I'm gonna learn from this mistake. I'm gonna sharpen my skills. I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna get better. And then it just kind of, in the last couple of years, I mean, I've only been owner for probably about 3 or 4 years now. In the last couple of years, it's just all started coming together. And then they got me public speaking. It's like, I would never, like, I don't ever want to go in and talk in front of everybody. I hate, that's the worst thing in the world. Like, even in college, like, I never, like, giving speeches and stuff, I never wanted to do that. I was so afraid. Yeah. Now it's like once a week, I go into a realtor's office. I go into public speaking. I'm presenting. I'm educating. It's like, I have to. I have to because I want them to know what I know. I want to educate people. I want to help them. And I want to grow our business. I want to continue people to learn what we do.
What do you think people need to, realtors, home buyers, what do you educate them on?
So we do a lot of different ones, but one thing that's really separates us from a lot of our competition, when we go into these and we do these CE courses, these realtors are always like, this is the best I've ever seen. Like, what? Oh, wow, you guys are great. Like, this is awesome. Like, come back. They always invite us back. And it's like, okay, that's awesome. We give them free lunch too. So free lunch and breakfast helps. Coffee and donuts and lunch. It gets realtors happy that they like you. But no, we get all the time. They're like, I've been doing real estate for 20 years. This, an older lady. And she goes, this is the best I've ever seen. Like, you guys are just great at this. The difference, I think, that between us and a lot of other companies, you know what Preferred Systems is? You ever heard of that before? So Preferred Systems it's like a website that you can go on. It's for businesses, and they create like PowerPoint presentations and presentations. So, and they have like tons of different, any subject you could think of. Yeah. Pretty much you go on, you pay a little bit of money. They give you the presentation. You go in, you swap it all out. You put all your stuff on it, and you use their presentation.
No way.
That's what a lot of companies do. Yeah. So they just put their own logos and stuff in, and they're going like, and we see the same CEs over like millennial homes. Like, this company does millennial homes. This company does millennial homes. They all do millennial homes. It's weird. All the same presentation. Right. So we're like, we're not going to do that. Yeah. So what we do with every one of our presentations, we've built probably 6 of them now, these CEs that we do. And we built them all in our office, all of us. Me and my brother pretty much put them all together, and then we take them to our team and we run them through all the team, all of our inspectors in a big room. Like, hey, what do you think about this? What you got any input? What do you got to say? And then once we work on it for months. Each presentation probably 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
And then we get it and we're like, okay, this is us, and then we take it in.
Yeah.
It's like it's us giving them what we do, how we're going to talk to the clients, what we're going to do.
Yeah.
But we do one on moisture intrusion. That's probably one of our best ones. Moisture is the number one enemy of the home.
Right. Exactly.
95% of the problems that come inside homes are from moisture. Okay. And so that's a good one we talk about. We do one on radon, mold, termites, like environmental stuff.
Yeah.
We do one on electrical, explaining electrical, how it works and some of the major defects that we find.
Yeah.
We just started a new one on heating systems. So we go through all boilers, heat pumps, geothermal, furnaces. So we just a little bit of everything, but we try to each one kind of gauge a subject. They give us usually about an hour to go through and explain everything to them. And again, it's just, they feel really good because they know how you're going to talk to their client.
Right.
The hard thing is, we get down there, we want you to do the inspection. It's like, well, we got 9, 10 guys.
Right.
So you may not be able to get me, but all these guys are trained by me. They're all going to talk the same way. They're going to, consistency is so key in what we do, so.
I really like the fact that you said you get opinions from your team, because not a lot of business owners do that. There was an old saying or old quote that I read somewhere that's like, if you ask too many people, then the answer gets blurred. Essentially, is what the quote kind of said. I don't remember it exactly, but I've always been like that too, where I'm like, I get opinions from my team, because I can sit here and say, hey, we're going to implement this change, but I'm not the one doing the work. So it's like, what if they hate it?
Exactly.
And I really respect the fact that, you get opinions from your team.
Yeah. But, Erie Inspection would not be Erie Inspection if we didn't have all of the guys that helped us. It's not just the guys, it's the girls in our office too. It's been a long road. There's been a lot of ups and downs. We've had, many of inspectors. We've been really, really lucky though. Our tenure is some of our top guys, they've been there 10 plus years.
Yeah.
Me and 2 or 3 of the other guys that have been there the longest. So we don't want to lose those guys, and we respect their opinion. If something's bothering you guys, bring it to us. If something, you have some input on something, we can do this better, we can say this better, bring it to us. Because you guys helped us get here. Some of those guys are workhorses, man. They do 2, 3 a day, 6 days a week.
Each inspection is a couple hours.
2 to 3 hours. Sometimes you get in some of these, 6,000, 7,000 square foot house.
Yeah.
We do commercial, we do quads, we do, multifamily apartment buildings.
The whole day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've taken our whole team out on an apartment building before. We're all doing different things, all split off. We got drones flying. We got sewer scopes going. We're going through units. We got our whole assemble. I said Avengers Assemble. Everybody goes off and does their things. And
Avengers Assemble. That's funny.
We but yeah, you got to take if you just keep doing what you're doing and don't listen to anybody, don't listen to the people that help build your business, you're gonna be in trouble. Because then you get a mutiny. You get everybody is upset and. Nobody wants to come to work, and then suddenly people stop showing up, and then you got big problems. We're very lucky that, obviously you're going to always have people complaining and, I didn't want to drive this far, and you see how expensive gas is. And, that's part of being a homeowner or part of being a business owner. But it's very, very important to listen to your team and take feedback from people. And again, some of it is, if you do listen to all of it and you take it all in, some of it is not important,
right?
But you got to listen to it all, take it all in, and then you can be like, hey, okay.
And then you kind of pick and choose, okay, this is a good one. This is, without offending them.
Without offending. Yeah, because, and that's the thing.
Without saying that sucks.
Yeah, that's a stupid idea. Why did you say that? It's like, okay, tell me what you think. Okay. Yeah. Well, this is why we're not going to do that because, that's just, we're going to lose money if we do that. So, okay, that makes sense. So
great idea, but it's not going to work.
Yeah, definitely not going to implement that one.
What I think is neat about which I didn't know, just your story and just inspections in general, is I did not realize it's a kind of a new business. 40 years.
Yeah,
40.
Yeah.
And
maybe.
How many?
I said maybe
40. Yeah.
Maybe like somebody like the original guys, maybe 40, 45 years, but not much longer than that.
And
the newer profession.
And it's cool because I really want you to elaborate a little bit more on how that's evolved. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure after the internet, it just skyrocketed. You kind of Erie Inspections and just inspections in general, I'm sure has to keep up to date with the new tech and the new, which I want to touch base on here in a little bit. But I'm interested to see what the evolution of, like, I guess, inspections in general and how that looked.
Yeah. So, and again, I've been doing this, so I'm coming up on 12 years. So, since it's been pretty much all digital since I started. But yeah, when my dad when he first started, it was a packet of paper. It was this big manila envelope full of paper, and you'd have a number 2 pencil, and you just check boxes. And and you just hand them there were no pictures.
Yeah.
There were nothing. There was just, this is what it is. Okay, everything's good. There's a problem here. And you'd hand them just this big packet. That was it. And then my dad, I remember he told me, he's like, when we first got Polaroid pictures, we'd actually take a couple Polaroids. So we'd snap like 5 or 6 of like any major defects, and you'd hand them the Polaroid with the packet, and they'd give a couple pictures with it. But there were no photos.
And that was like the newest thing. They were
we
got a picture.
Got a photo of the rotted beam up there or something. Yeah. It's so I didn't know any of that, but that's where it started. So and then we've been using digital reports for at least 15 plus years. So but there's lots of different softwares, and now there's even more softwares, and but it's just kind of, I don't think technically, I don't think it's changed too much. Obviously, newer stuff like newer furnaces, high efficient furnaces and boilers and stuff like that. But, I think the process of a home inspection, the way that we do it, not all home inspectors inspect houses the same. Our approach is always outside to inside, top to bottom. Start outside, start at the roof, look at the exterior, then work your way in, start in the attic, work your way down. That's the flow of water.
Yeah.
You watch how water flows around the house, how it comes off the roof, how it goes into the gutters, and where it's going. You can usually find problems inside that house if you pay attention.
Exactly.
And that's one of the hardest things to teach our guys is correlation. You got to pay attention to what you see outside, and then when you go inside, you got to look in these areas.
Yep.
If you don't know where to look, you're going to miss stuff.
Yeah.
You got to know those areas and where the problems develop on these certain houses and where there could be a problem hidden. So
that's a big thing too. Even just in the roofing in general is, when I talk to the installers, it's like you have to understand how water moves.
Absolutely.
You have to understand, that water will find its way one way or another, and you have to kind of guide it out to the, out.
Water does weird things. If you let it do its thing and be unchecked and be wild, it's amazing how it can wick up, underneath things and up behind walls and stuff. You got to control. The more that you can control, we can never control it all. Mother Nature, wind blowing, driving rain and snow and ice and stuff. But the more that we can control and kind of keep our eyes on how the water moves and flows, you're going to keep things under control in your house, big time.
Is the inspection industry, like, is it full of like just marketers and we can get you more inspections? So like the roofing and construction, it's like the CRMs are coming out every week and new, marketing and websites and because it's a booming, and private equity is coming big into our industry. Same thing.
Home inspections. Yeah. So they're buying up all the software. There's a big company called Porch. I don't know if you ever heard of Porch before, but they're pretty much a private equity type company. They own everything.
Yeah.
And they own Lowe's, I think. I'm not sure if they own Home Depot too, but I know they own Lowe's. And they kind of came into our industry, I want to say maybe 5-6 years ago. And not to bore you too much, but there's a guy, his name was Nathan Thornberry, and he is out of Indiana. And he grew up same as like I grew up. His parents owned an inspection company.
Yeah.
And I think he tried that for a little bit. It really wasn't his thing.
Yeah.
So his thing is he was an inventor. So he's like, how am I going to invent things that can make, help the home inspection? I'm going to get rich off inventing something.
Right.
So he'd come up with all these gadgets and devices and things and services and everything. And he kind of built this group. It was called the ISG Inspection Support Group. And he has all these different services. He had warranties for inspection companies, all these products. Now they have like radon monitors and mold testing and stuff. But he built this group called, we called it the top home inspectors, so TOP group. Yeah. And it was the top home inspector groups or top home inspector companies in the country. So when we'd have like conferences a couple times a year, and we'd all meet up. It was just kind of like a mastermind meeting where we'd all just share secrets and things that, helped us get where we are. And we're all in different markets, around the country. And that really helped us grow our business tremendously. So being around all these people and being able to take things from them and implemented into our business.
Right.
But the reason I'm telling you this is about, it's been about 5-6 years ago, Nathan sold out to Porch. So I think he made millions, $10+ million. And he sold all of his services to Porch. So they assumed all that.
Yeah.
So then they went around and they bought all these software companies. They bought all these insurance companies. They bought all these alarm companies.
Yeah.
So they're grabbing everything up. And and really what it's for is data.
Yeah.
They want everybody's data. They want all the customers' data so they can sell them more stuff.
Right.
And we use their warranties. So that's one thing that we offer is with all of our inspections, we give them a 5-year leak protection. So as long as we mark the roof satisfactory, we don't find any active leaks, they get 5 years of leak protection from the day they close on the home. I'm sorry, for the day of our inspection. And it's $3,000 worth of coverage. So it's really great for those people where you got that roof. It's, within the next 5 years, it's going to be time for a new roof. Well, we're going to give you a 5-year roof warranty for $3,000 worth of coverage.
Yeah.
Comes with our inspection. It's no extra cost.
That's interesting.
So we do that. We do an underground sewer line and water line protection for 90 days. You get sometimes sewer lines collapse.
Yeah.
Things that we can't even see.
But that's not part of like the home warranty when you buy it.
No. This is an inspection warranty comes with our service.
Nice.
So, and there's a 90-day too. So like say their water heater quits it was working fine. We did it. They move in, within 60 days or whatever, their water heater is not working. They can call us and they can file a claim and they get up to $500.
Yeah.
So it's just, any other inspector, nothing.
I was going to ask, do other companies do that?
There's no one around here. There are companies that are around in the country that do it.
Yeah.
But not any in Ohio. We're kind of like the only ones in Ohio that really do it.
It's really unique though, because it basically means like, I know what I'm talking about and I'm backing it.
Exactly. It's peace of mind
exactly.
to our clients. But, at the end of the day, Porch, how it works is we give, it's $20 per inspection we pay for these warranties to be added, and Porch gets a lead. They're going to get a lead on it, so they're going to call them and try to sell them something.
Yeah.
And we have a list. They can tell us, we opt out of it. We don't want to do it, and that's fine.
Yeah.
If an agent says we don't want our clients to be called, we don't do it. But again, they get an extra service. They're getting a little extra protection. And that's the only reason we do it is because we want to try to protect them a little bit longer,
right.
When we're done, because nobody else is doing that. So, but Porch, that private equity stuff, I get calls all the time. How's the inspections in your area? I'm like, I'm swamped.
Right.
I can't do anymore. They're like, well, how many are you doing? Like a lot. They're like, well, we can get you more. That's okay. We're okay. We're doing enough. Everybody's busy. Like you get emails and that all the time. I can make your business better. I can do this. It's like, I'm okay.
So how many inspections do you guys do? Say a day or a week or?
So I was kind of looking at that before I come. So we are working on our 10th inspector. I'm training the guy right now. And he's going to be number 10. So we go all the way from Akron all the way over to Toledo, and we do Southeast Michigan too. Oh, wow. So Michigan has no licensing for anything.
Oh, really?
So no home inspection licensing, no radon licensing, no pest licensing, nothing. It's the Wild West up there.
Interesting because...
So we can go into Michigan. Michigan inspectors can't come into Ohio because they don't have licenses.
That's so interesting because you have to have...
I've heard this.
For construction?
Contractors, be a contractor. They're really tough on contractors.
Tough.
And Ohio's the opposite.
Exactly.
And Ohio's super strict on home inspections and licensing for radon and all that stuff. Very odd how that works. Yeah,
that is odd.
But I don't understand it. But I would say our guys like I said, Todd, my dad, when he first started his first year, I think he said he did 6 or 7. Last year we did over 2,500. So, we've turned it up a notch, and I would say on a day average, if 9 of us are doing 2 a day, we're doing it quite a bit.
That's crazy.
I think this week, I think we had 68 scheduled.
Yeah. Wow.
So we try to do 2 a day. That's what we tell them, to give us 10 slots a week. We don't care what days they are, but give us 10 slots a week and we'll fill your slots if you give them to us.
Is that one branch?
No, that would be all of us. That's all the way through the Ohio.
Okay.
So we really our main office in Bellevue where we started.
Okay.
It's still never changed. It's still there. I came up into Toledo. Like I said, it's been almost 12 years. Okay. And we had one guy, he was in Jerry City, which is like south of Bowling Green, little small town. And he was doing everything. He was doing Findlay, he was doing Toledo, he was doing Michigan.
Yeah.
And he was just, so I came up here, and so it was just me and him. We're starting to get busier in Toledo. We need to keep growing Toledo. And then like a week after I got here, he quit. He was done. And so it was just me by myself.
Yeah.
And then our other inspector, he was on a ladder and it slipped out from under him and his arm got caught. He broke his arm.
Ooh.
And it was like a compound fracture. And so he was out. So that was just me and my dad.
Yeah.
And my dad was in Sandusky and I was in Toledo. And I mean, I'd be going to Wakeman, in the morning, and then I'd end up in Michigan at night. I'd be driving just hours and hours. And, but we just kept growing. And then about 5 years ago, my brother came and joined the team. So he was a banker. So he was with Chase Bank. He was out in Denver and he was in Seattle.
It's a big change.
That's what he was going to do. He was going to do finance. He went to college at Cincinnati, got a finance degree. I mean, the sky was the limit. He could have they loved him there. And he just, same thing. He was sitting there and he's like, I don't want to sit in a cubicle. I don't want to do this in a high rise, for the rest of my life. And he goes, I want to go run my family business.
Right.
So he took a huge pay cut. He came back and now he's our general manager.
Nice.
So he handles, I handle the inspectors. I'm the inspector manager. I still do a lot of inspections, but I manage all them. He manages our office staff and then just kind of general overview of everything, our finances, that kind of stuff. So, which is great for him. So he really joined and he helped tighten the screws.
Right.
Just make sure everything is the way it needs to be, getting everything lined out, getting things straight. My dad has really taken a step back. He's really not doing too much anymore.
Yeah.
But he's now Taylor's, because of what I did in Toledo, Taylor's really trying to do that in Cleveland. So we're very new to Cleveland. Last year we doubled our business over the year before, so we're doing good. But we got 3 guys that service kind of Toledo or Cleveland, Akron area.
Yeah.
And they're, I would say they're not as busy as our Toledo guys. Like our Toledo guys, we got 5 or 6 guys doing 2 a day every day.
Yeah.
We're very busy. Greater Toledo area.
Right.
But I would say Cleveland it's growing slow, but we're working hard to try to build Cleveland.
Yeah, and Cleveland is
it's a different beast. And there's even more competition in the Cleveland and Akron area than there is in Toledo, obviously, for home inspectors.
Yeah. And there's rough areas in every city, right? But you look at some of these houses and you're like, I'm like, how do you even get in these houses?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you tell us what's the craziest thing that you've ever found?
There's so many things to go through. Everybody always asks me this. Craziest thing I've ever found. I always say a lot of dead animals, unfortunately. I found like full dogs under crawl spaces. Like, how did you lose your Labrador underneath your house? But somehow it got underneath there and never got out. Really, just I would say more crazy situations. Because in this job, that's why I try to tell all my guys, like, every day's an adventure. You don't know what you're getting into.
Right.
Especially like you're saying, like multi-unit properties and stuff with tenants in them. They don't vacate when we come in. They're there. And it can get real dicey. I've had cops called. People, one of our inspectors had someone pulled a gun out. It was a bad divorce. The girl, she was like a corrections officer. She came out, started pulling her gun out, waving her gun around. They had to call cops.
Yeah.
The craziest story that I could ever tell you, and it's pretty crazy. It was a house, and it was in Sylvania. It was a really nice house on the outside, and I went in there, and it was an older lady, and it was her daughter, and then her grandson. Okay, so it was a young kid, junior high. And I got a call the night before. They left a message for me. It was from the buyer, and he said, "I got two things I really want you to do. Please document all the damage that the upstairs tenant is doing to the house." And he said, "The other thing is there's a smell. There's an odor in the house, and I don't know what it is. Can you please figure out what that odor is?" Okay, weird.
Right.
So I went, and the woman introduces it. I said, "Okay, you staying for the inspection?" "Yeah, we're staying here." I said, "Okay." She goes, "My mom's on her bed in there, and my son's upstairs." I said, "Okay." I said, "Is it okay if I go up there and start my inspection? I have to go through his room." And she's like, "Yeah, it should be." I was like, "I think it should be." I'm like, "That's weird." So I went up there, and this kid just laying on his bed, and he's looking up at the ceiling, and young kid, got long hair, and the place is trash. The carpet's ripped up, the walls are all smashed in, the bathroom's all trash, the tiles all broken and stuff. Like someone just smashed, just destroying things.
Yeah.
And I said, "Hey, but I'm looking for attic access." And I look, of course, it's in his closet. And he's got tons of stuff in front of it. And I'm like, "Hey," I said, "Hey, buddy, is it okay if I inspect your room and look in the attic real quick?" And he's just laying there. He just stares at the ceiling. I was like, "Hey, buddy," I was like, "Is it okay if I poke my head up in your attic?" And he sits up, And he looks at me and he goes, "Hey, Mom, this guy's up here stealing all of our shit. He's going through the drawers. He's stealing your jewelry." And he runs out. He's like, "He's stealing everything." I'm like, no. So I chase after him. Like, she like comes out and she knew, luckily she knew him. And she's like, "He's not doing anything. Leave the nice man alone. I'm so sorry. And he's like, "You fat piece of shit." He's like calling us. I'm like, "Dude, whatever. Like, this kid needs to be punched." And right. I'm just trying to ignore it, and I'm like, whatever. So he goes and he goes down to his mom. He's like, "I swear, I'm going to punch you. I'm going to hit you. When this guy leaves, I'm going to hit you." I'm like, oh my God, what a mess. So I'm just like trying to stay out of him. I'm just going to keep working, keep doing my thing. I got to get, because that's when you inspections, it's like, let's just get done. Okay. Right. Get to the end. See the light at the end of the tunnel. You guys got to keep going. Whatever's going on, all this crazy shit that's going on, just, I got to get my information, get the hell out of here. Okay. And, then next thing I know, there's cops I see there's cops pulling up. There's like 3 cops walking in the door. I'm like, oh, I hope they're not coming to talk to me. Like, the guy really stealing stuff. No, they go get him. He's on like probation. They take the kid out and they're arresting him while he's there. And then it's just like, oh, it's such a mess. And then I get to the master bedroom, and the old lady's laying in the bed, and she's like on her deathbed, like real thin and like shivering. And she starts crying. She's like, "I'm so sorry about my grandson, my family. It's such messed up. I'm so sorry. I'm just like, "Oh, I'm really sorry." Like, what the heck, And then the smell was cats. So there was just piles of cat food all over the house. They were just putting piles of cat food. They had like 10 cats in the house. So I started using my thermal imaging camera. I find wet spots all over. It's cat pee. Cats were just peeing all over the house. And that's the ammonia, was the smell that he was smelling.
Just a crazy chain of events. Yeah.
It was just, that's one of them. That's one of the craziest ones. But, it's just, you never know. Every day is just, you get there and you just try to be professional, right? And you try to be kind, and everybody's situation is different. That's what you get. I'm sure you know that too. Oh yeah. People's conditions of living and their standards of living are very different. Yeah. You go into like kids' room and there's vomit and dog shit on the floor. Like, a kid's sleeping in here. It's like, what are you guys doing?
And that's one thing that, people have asked me, you ever do interior? I'm like, nope, I like to stay outside.
Smart man.
I stay outside because, you're getting into their private space in a sense. And, I'm like, nope, because of that, I don't want someone saying, "Hey, well, your guys were out here, and now I'm missing my necklace."
You get that.
All for an insurance claim or whatever.
Oh, you want to hear the craziest one? We one time got accused of stealing a car. So they had an old old Buick inside it was an estate, and they were selling the house, and they had an old Buick in the garage. And our inspector did his inspection, left, and we had a detective call and said he wanted to speak with Vince, and he said, "The car is missing. The car in the drive, in the garage. What did you do with it?" And he's like, "There was a car there," or I think Vince was like, "The car wasn't there when I did the inspection. There was no car there." Mm-hmm. What are you talking about? And they're the realtor was accusing him of messing with it. And
oh wow,
it got real messy. And then they found out, it was like months later, they found it at a Kroger somewhere, and that I guess the grandson had like joyrided it, got the keys, and took it and left it. And no one ever apologized. No one ever called us and said, "Sorry for accusing you of stealing a car." Like, how crazy is that? You really think we have our logo? We were in the house. You think we're going to take a car?
Exactly.
It's like, what the? Like, where did you guys even get some of these thoughts?
Exactly.
But and that's the thing is too, there's a lot of inspectors that carry body cameras because of that. Mm-hmm. They actually have they load up to a cloud and they can go through and watch all the footage and stuff just in case. Yeah. Because you get people say, "You said this." "No, I didn't say that." Or "You did this."
Or now they have like the meta glasses.
Yeah, the glasses too.
That'd be neat POV.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about it. It's something. I think if we had, knock on wood there, if we had more problems with people like calling us and having a lot of issues, that we've definitely talked about it. It's on the it's a thought, but we don't have a lot of issues with it. So I mean, once in a while you're always going to have that, but
it just kind of brains just spitballing on marketing a little bit. I think that'd be like, people would watch like a quick just a quick POV of like someone just
that's a good idea.
Inspecting everything.
Yeah, kind of pointing things out, like what you're looking at. That's a great idea.
And just
I've done little videos like that, but like with the meta glasses, that'd be a great idea.
Yeah, so
I like that.
What I want to talk about your transit. You need to say something?
No. I said I agree with that. I was just saying I like that a lot. Yeah, I'm thinking.
Your transition from just doing inspections to owning the business. What were the biggest challenges that you faced as you became the owner?
I think, for me, I've kind of worked into this position of inspector manager. So, I'm responsible for, educating all these guys. Every 2 weeks, we do a in-office meeting. So we spend 3 hours. We take all the guys in, we take the morning off, we bring them all to Bellevue, we sit in the room, we go over complaints. Maybe we've got new things that have come out in the industry, problems, to look out for, things. I always say, like, that's one of the biggest differences about our company and other companies is we take the time for education.
Yeah.
We take our guys, to conferences, we spend the money for them because it's so important that they know this stuff and they stay up on education because we could book that morning and we could have all those guys doing, an inspection that morning. We lose a lot of money every time we take that off, you know, but it's much more important to have them educated and us all be on the same wavelength. So
Exactly.
I've really been like, that's when my dad ran things, it was very, nothing, again, he built this thing and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him and what he did and his reputation. And we've kind of piggybacked off of that. But he's I'm very similar to him. My brother is the opposite. That's why we work well together. I'm very laid back. It takes a lot to make me upset and really get me mad until I get there. And then it's like, okay.
Then you blow up.
It is. I do. I need, it's something I need to work on. But my dad was just always he's very reactive, not proactive. He's just like, it's all okay until it's a problem. It's all, and he's always been like that. And when we had 2 or 3 guys, he could do that. Right. Got 10 guys now.
Exactly.
We got a full office staff.
Yeah.
We got to have protocol. We have procedures. So that's something we've been building. That's something that I did. Yeah. I'm going through each thing. This is how we do a roof inspection. This is how we do this. This is how we set a radon test. Just getting all those, if you need help, there's a step-by-step procedure of how we're doing this. We didn't have that before. Yeah. Now, if you do this and you mess up, I'm going to write you up. And if you keep doing that, we're going to have to fire you. Yeah. You can't be late to inspections. Like, it can't just be like, hey, don't do that again. Right. If you got to have some recourse and that's how you get everybody, doing the same thing and being able to trust them and send them out,
And that's so huge for, going from a $500,000 a year company, say, for example, a lot of people are like, okay, we do $1 million a year. I want to be a $10 million a year company or a $5 million a year company. But I feel like that's what you just said, implementing those systems, those standards, the protocols, so huge to sustaining a company that's, $3 million, $5 million a year. I think a lot of people don't really grasp onto that. And they think that you can do the same things you do at 500,000 than that you at 5 million, So I really respect the fact that, you're like, I came in and I implemented, and I'd like for you to talk about that process of just implementing, because I'm sure people weren't like enjoying the fact that you're implementing these things.
And again, I can't say it's all me because it's my brother. My brother is the one that really, like I said, he's the one that, he's more corporate. He's more, again, we don't want to be corporate. We're a family run business. We're we're still us, but he's still more, that's the thing. It's like, okay, we want to grow this business. This is what we got to do to grow the business. Exactly. We have to set these if A happens, we go to B. If X happens, you go to Y, or Y or Z. So he really helped that. And it was, when he first came on, we had some inspectors and stuff that it wasn't going good. Exactly. They left. Yeah. It was like, they liked it where it was just free will and there wasn't many repercussions. They could just do what they wanted. And, now when that changed, that we lost some people but I think it was for the better. Yeah. The ones that stayed, they understood what we were trying to do. And we did, when Taylor came on, and since I've come on, we went from we were somewhere between 500 and $1 million to now we're over 1.5 million. Nice. We're hoping to hit 2 million this year. Nice. So we're cruising, man. But you're right. So many people do not understand that. It's like, well, it's always worked. And if, you always hear that if it's not broke, you don't fix it. Right. That's not true when you're trying to grow your business. You got to start doing the other things to get to that next level. And that's what happened. Like the other thing is those CE courses that we built that I'm talking about. My dad would go, he'd do maybe a handful of them a year, like maybe 5 or 6 of them and just go into the offices that he knew and talked. I think last year we did like over 60. Oh, so wow. And this is from Cleveland to Toledo. We're going to most of the office like 3-4 times a year. And I'm getting some of the other guys to teach them. Yeah. So like my guy in Akron, Brooks, now he's going in and teach them, and he's getting a repertoire with the clients and agents there They like him, so, and I got Derek down in Findlay, who he's kind of working into the line. We're working a little south now. But he's doing the classes too. And again, he's the guy in the area teaching the class, so they can recommend him and they can get him on their inspections.
Right.
And it's just, we weren't doing that before. And I think that has helped our growth tremendously. It's just being present and like drilling it into their head. Like you said, the brand,
Yep.
the logo, everything you see every time you think about home inspections, you see my Facebook, you're thinking about me.
Exactly.
It's
exactly.
You may not even know much about me, but I do home inspections. So you're going to look me up and then maybe you might hire me, or at least look at my business.
Yeah. And what advice would you give those guys you mentioned earlier that they go to the school, they pay for the school to get, LLC, et cetera, blah, 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 that then come to you and are like, hey, it's dead. I'm dead. Like, what advice would you give them to, what advice would you give them?
Yeah. Really, I would tell you, I know like it may be the opposite of what the school's telling you. Really, to start, when you're starting out, I would highly recommend go to work for somebody. Like, go for a multi-inspector firm. You don't have to stay there forever.
Yeah.
But it's a good way to get your foot in the door, and you're going to get volume, because that's what you're not. The way you're going to become a good inspector is experience, and that's doing inspections.
Exactly.
If no one's calling and you're not doing inspections, you can't get better at your craft.
Yeah.
You're not going to get better. So if you go and work for somebody that has inspections to give you, you're going to learn and you're going to get better at what you're doing. So I would highly recommend, if somebody does want to do their own, start their own business and they want to get on their own eventually, go to work for somebody, try it out for a couple of years and get that experience. You're going to, because especially if you're with somebody like us, we're going to continue to educate you and train you. So, that's going to help you build your business eventually.
Right.
So I would always say, don't, I know it sounds great and it's, the rosy colored glasses and you drink the Kool-Aid, everybody's going to have their own business. Everybody's going to be successful. But first, you got to get the reps. Reps are what's really important. And if you're, no one's, like I said, no one's calling you on your phone and you're not getting the inspections, you're not going to get the reps, and you're not going to grow as a home inspector. So I would highly recommend taking a couple of years, work for a company, get those inspections, get a lot of inspections under your belt, and then then you can think about going and being your own man. But the one thing that's great about working for somebody also, you don't got to deal with the complaints. You don't got to. We may call you and say, hey, can you tell us some information about this? But we're going to take care of the fires. We're going to set all the scheduling up. You don't have to have, while you're trying to do inspection, people are calling you trying to schedule inspections, so you got to walk away from your client.
Right.
We want our guys to focus on inspections, and that's like a lot of the guys that did have their own companies and have come to us. That's what they say is they're like, it's so awesome.
Yeah.
All I do is I get up and I go do inspections, and I turn them in and I do my job. I don't got to worry about any of the bull crap.
Yeah.
I don't got to worry about the overhead, all the costs, and all the complaints. And you guys do all that, so it makes it really easy for me to be an inspector, and I make tons of money. So I make more money than I did when I was by myself. So
when I will run appointments and just I'm just like, man, like how nice it would just be to just wake up, you have 4 or 5 appointments and go knock them out, go home, call it a day. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm like, that would be so
right?
nice. Exactly.
Yeah, right. I gotta go here. Okay, hold on a second. I gotta cancel that. I gotta go here now because somebody needs me emergency.
I want to ask you just some questions here about what for someone buying or selling a home, probably buying, but what are like the top 3 or 4 things that you recommend they look at in an inspection report?
So you're saying the whole? Are you saying the whole report? Like what?
Yeah.
Where are the most important section? What are the most important parts of the home?
Important parts of yeah. Let's say someone for whatever reason had like 2 minutes to just go through it. What would you tell them to look at? First is structure, foundation, and structure. So that's your number one, because depending on what's going on, cost. If you got major foundation structure and you're talking about excavation, you're talking about a lot of money. So you want to make sure you got solid bones. Structure is always number one. Number 2 is your department, roof. Roofs are very expensive. You got to make sure your roof should be, those are always the big, those are the big money. If you got issues with your roof or issues with your foundation structure, you're in trouble. So that should always be your attention. Number 3 would be electrical, because electrical is one of the things that always lack. Most people, they update everything in their house. Electrical is usually the last thing they're touching, or they may update their box. They may put a new panel in, but they don't update the wiring. So you still got a bunch of old wiring inside your house and a bunch of outdated plugs and stuff that aren't going to work for your TVs and computers, like ungrounded outlets and stuff. Right.
So, and electrical also can get expensive, depending on what you want to do to it. So,
right.
But I would definitely say, I always tell people when I'm going through inspections, like we get through the structure, we get through the roof, everything's good. I'm like, that's good. Okay, those are the 2 big ones. You know, you got a good roof here, a new roof, looks clean, looks good. Your structure looks solid. Those are big pluses, you know, and then I would say electrical behind that, and then probably HVAC, plumbing, you know, behind there, depending on, you know, underground drain lines, you know, always to sewer scopes. Nowadays, you know, 5 years ago, barely anybody was doing sewer scopes. You know, sending a camera down into your sewer scope and checking your line out to the street.
Yeah.
Now they're getting very common because even realtors, everybody's learning that a lot of these old clay and cast iron drains, you know, they were only rated for 50 years or so.
Yeah.
So we're past they're obsolete now.
Yeah.
So you get roots in them, you get collapse, and you don't know. You know, what happens a lot is you had an old ranch, an old lady was living there. You know, she's the only person, she's taking her baths, she goes to the bathroom, whatever. Okay, now a family of 3 or 4 moved in. Now you're much more usage, you're flushing the toilet more, you're putting more waste down the toilet, you know, more toilet paper, that kind of stuff. Now all of a sudden within the first week you got a problem because you're putting more stuff into that drain. Nobody knew before when it was just the little old lady.
Right.
So those sewer scopes could save you a lot of money. And
Yeah.
I would highly recommend, if you're buying an older home especially. I mean, even, you know, everybody always says new house, it's PVC, can't have a problem. I've seen crushed PVC drain lines. It can happen, okay? So you really should check it. But if you're buying an old house with old cast iron and tile, clay
sewer
tile,
scope.
you should be doing a sewer scope, absolutely.
Yeah. It's probably like one of the top ones to definitely
In
get.
Toledo, we got a lot
it
of-
would just make sense.
A
Yeah.
lot of old sewer lines, a lot of issues with roots and bad drains, for sure. Absolutely.
What's the toughest part of a home to inspect?
Crawl space. An attic. Attic and crawl space, but crawl space is the worst because just it's one of those things you don't know till you get there.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how sometimes a 100-year-old house can have this crawl space. You can get in and under, and sometimes you get like a 60-year-old house and it's on the dirt. You know, you can't even get underneath the house.
Yeah.
So when that's because as a home inspector, you know, we only have to access. You know, access is only safe if it's 16 by 24 inches. So if it's smaller, some of these are like 12 by 12. You know,
Yeah.
little hole you got to slide into. It's amazing what as a big guy, you've seen me slide into. I mean, I'm like a contortionist trying to get into some of the stuff, but you know, I'm not afraid. If I can get in there, I'll get. You know, even if it doesn't meet standard, but. You can't be surprised when a home inspector says, "Hey, that's too small. I can't go in there. It's not safe." You know,
Yeah.
and there's supposed to be 24-inch clearance between the floor joists and the dirt. Not always. Sometimes you can barely get underneath those floor joists. You know, and you just crawl spaces. The reason the crawl spaces in the attics are the problem is because nobody ever goes in there.
Exactly.
Nobody inspects them. You know, if you've got a crawl space, a couple times a year, you should open it up. Even if you don't crawl through the whole thing, shine your light in there, look around. You see any water? You see any signs of bugs? You know, see any rodents? You know, that just by doing that little check a couple times, probably twice a year, you should do that. You know, that could save you. You know, you let something go on for a long time, standing water, then it turns into mold. Now you got a mold problem underneath your house.
You know, that's one thing I hate to get into is attics. But we do, and it's so surprising how many people tell us in general, like, oh, you know, we had other people out here, they never even said, you know, we want to get into the attic to see, you know, whether it's a repair or just whatever. We're just always like, we want to get into the attic, see the ventilation, see the
Absolutely.
you know, and it's surprising how many people don't.
Yeah, because sometimes you look at the outside of the house and the ventilation stuff, and they added all this ventilation, and you go and it's mold. You know, it's all moldy and black. It's like, oh, they added a bunch of ventilation, but they never fixed the problem. You know,
Exactly.
like what's in here, you still got the mold growth and all the staining and the signs of condensation and frost and
Yeah. Are people still doing the what do they call that, the no view buying houses where they just buy a house without even viewing it? Like
yeah, I mean that happens every once. I don't think it's as much as, you know, right after COVID or 2020. That's when we were the busiest. This year actually we're beating our COVID year, which is crazy. Right now we're ahead.
Yeah.
Hopefully things stay the same, but 2021 was crazy. It was just insane. So many people moving and just the world, you know, it was just a wild time. And there were a lot of people buying sight unseen.
sight unseen. That's
Sight
what,
unseen. They would not even. There was one in like Sylvania. They said people were from California or Texas or something. They paid $60,000 over asking price, and they never stepped foot in the house. They went there. It's like, how could you ever?
Yeah,
I would
exactly.
never. Like I couldn't. That makes me nightmares.
Do they rely heavily on an inspection report for that, or people?
Depends.
Or
No,
people
a
don't
lot
even,
of them were. This was no inspection.
Wow.
So they were waiving. That's the other thing. They were waiving. Everybody was waiving inspections before.
Yeah.
This was like 21, 22. Everybody. There was just such a high demand. There were so many buyers that, you know, you'd have 20 to 30 people, you know, all putting offers on a house. Well, the top 5 of them are going to waive the home inspection.
Yeah.
Okay, those top 5. We're not dealing with the rest of them. You know. But I think what I think, because we're seeing a change now, we're kind of in the same, we're seeing this boost again, but we seems like, and there's lots of offers on these houses, but we're seeing everybody's wanting to get a home inspection. You know, there's definitely deals being done without home inspections right now, but I think that, you know, honestly, I think there was a lot of buyer's remorse, and I think there was a lot of people that got shocked and found stuff that they could have easily avoided with a home inspection. And, you know, if any realtor that told people to waive an inspection, like, shame on them. Yeah. Because, I mean, for these people what they do as a job to see some of the stuff that we see and to advise your client to waive a home inspection is just, I can't get beyond that. It's
exactly.
Like, you know, and then it's like, oh, and then they find something, oh, too bad. You know, it's like, well, you talked them into it. You told them not to. Yeah. You know, so like you know, what I always say about home inspections is there is no way when you buy a house, there's a lot of risk involved. You know, it's one of the biggest risks you're going to buy. You buy a boat, you buy a car, you know, this risk. Home, a lot of risk. Okay. You're never going to be able to mitigate all the risk. Okay. There's just too many components. There's too many variables to buy a home. A home inspection is your best way of managing that risk and making that risk as small as possible because you're going to have that information. And information is very powerful when you want to buy a house.
Yeah. That's super. Yeah. It's crazy. Like you just said, when someone's like, you know, realtors, you know, waiving inspections, because their job is to protect the buyer.
At the end of the day, you're supposed to. Exactly. You know, and again, there's great, there's fantastic realtors in Ohio. There's fantastic realtors around the country. But there's a lot of bad ones, and there's a lot of ones that give bad advice. And, you know, like you said, these people trust these people to put them in their house. And those should be the people that are looking out for them. You know, they should be looking out for their client's best interest. And it's not always in my job. That's what I see is like, what are they telling you? You know, and it's like, no, or, hey, I can fix this. I got somebody who'll fix it for $300. This is not a $300 fix. This is a $3,000 fix. Yeah. Who are you going to, well, we'll fix it once you get in here. You know, it's like, no, you're not being honest with this person. Right. You know, you have to, you know, I can't stand there to watch someone get screwed over. You know, that's the one thing that I love about my job is because I can be honest, and I feel like I almost like a superhero some days. You know, like I'm saving people, like I protected them. I was, because nobody else was looking out for them. The person that was supposed to wasn't, but I did. You know, I showed them what they needed to see, and they decided not to buy the house. And if so be it, I don't care whether they buy the house or not. I just care that they have the information that they can make an evaluated or educated decision. You know,
exactly. To a new home buyer, when I bought my house, people were just like, you know, you should get an inspection, which is really to be completely honest, that's why I got an inspection. Yeah, because people are like, you to. Yeah, it's part of. I'm like, okay, it's maybe part of the process. So to someone who doesn't understand, a new home buyer, someone that's out there in the market looking for a house, and you may have answered this already before, but if you could just elaborate just on that particular point. Why is a home inspection important to, and not just kind of like it's just part of the process. Like, help me or help the people watching understand how and why that's important.
Yeah. So, you know, just what I was saying, like with the managing risk, there's, you know, so much going on. You know, you go in a house, you find a house and it's beautiful on the inside. Everything looks great. You know, and when you're walking through a house, you know, what do you have? Maybe 15 minutes, maybe you got a 30-minute showing. Right. Especially if there's a bunch of people lined up to see it after you. So you're running through it, you're looking at everything. Okay, this looks nice. The cabinets are nice. You know, this is nice. This is nice. Right. You're not looking at the fine detail stuff. That's what I always say about the home inspection. The home inspection, when they get there, I go, okay, come inside, walk around, take a look. Okay, I'm going to do my thing. You can follow me around. You can look around the house. Take your time, ask questions, you know, take it all in. Because now you have some time to slow it down, run some water, look at, you know, check it all out. Because you didn't do that when you were on the showing. Right. So, and people can make things look really nice, and they're not so nice once you start taking the Band-Aids off and you start looking deep underneath things. So that is my job. My job is to make sure, and again, I can't see through walls. You know, there's a lot of things that I can't see in a home inspection. Yeah. But again, all the tools that I'm using, like a drone, you know, if I can't get up and walk a roof safely, or a giant big chimney that sticks up, you know, off the roof, I can fly a drone right down their 4K camera. I can look at it. I can check the flashing out. I can tell you what it looks like. And then my other best friend is my thermal imaging camera. Yeah. You know, as I work my way through the house, I scan the ceilings, the walls, the floors as I run water through the house. So if there's a leak in your shower underneath dripping into the kitchen ceiling, I can find that before it even causes a water stain. That's crazy. So, you know, I'm not X-ray, but I can see color, temperatures, missing insulation. We found raccoons in people's walls before, you know, with heat signatures and bees nests in people's bathroom fans. So I can tell you a lot about that house, and it's something that nobody else can give you the information the way that I can give you the information. And it's gonna, again, that knowledge is gonna make you a better homeowner, and it's gonna give you power. And again, like you said, some people everybody's different of what they're gonna do with that inspection report. It depends on the person. Some people just want to use it for negotiation. They're just going to try to find something in there that they can either get the price down or they can get somebody to fix something or repair something.
Right.
Some people just want the knowledge. They sometimes even write, they say this inspection's for general knowledge only. We're not going to negotiate anything. You know, it's just for our knowledge.
Yeah.
So, and that alone, like, even though you can't have any repairs, you at least get all that info. You're going to know how old is your air conditioner? How old's the furnace? How old's the water here? How long do they last? Okay, I got a couple more years in this. I got low water pressure upstairs in my bathroom faucet. Why is that? Oh, I got galvanized water lines. You showed me there's a galvanized line coming into the front. It's okay now, but someday I may have to replace that because my pressure may get bad.
Right.
There's all these different things and all these materials that we know about and that we can explain to you all the defects and the problems with them. Make sure that you're aware as you live there. Like I said, it's kind of like that roadmap or that game plan.
Yeah.
And just things to be mindful of. You know?
Yeah, and it's kind of like the truth of what you're stepping into.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you know, people go in and they've got it all furnished and it looks nice and you're imagining yourself having a coffee, watching this view or whatever.
Yeah.
And you know, you come in and you're like, okay, this is how you're going to have to budget for the next couple of years of, you know, you've got 2 years here, 5 years here, you know, because a lot of people, like you said, they do buy and then, you know, they buy a house or whatever. And then they're like, oh shoot, well, I didn't know I had to do this or I didn't know how to do that, you know, and you're basically telling them, giving them that blueprint of, hey, this is what it's going to look like.
Yeah, it's like, am I going to need another, you know, am I going to need 10 grand in the next 5 years for repairs and maintenance and stuff? Or am I going to need, you know, 50 grand?
Right.
You know, that's what I should be able to try to tell you, you know? So, but it's just, it really is, information is so valuable. And like I said, it's really, I always say I'm informing and I'm protecting, you know, because at the end of the day, and again, you know, everybody's different too. Like I said, like, you know, sometimes I can go into a basement, it's full of mold. There's mold on everything. And it's like, I tell the same two different people, tell them exactly the same thing. You know, we have a good amount of possible mold here. You know, I would highly recommend, can't say it has mold, it has to be tested in a lab. That's the thing in Ohio. You can't, unless you have lab tested, you have to always say it's suspected mold or possible mold. But I can tell same person, and one person says, oh my God, I'm not buying this house. I can't do mold. And another person says, I don't care. I'll clean it up.
Yeah.
Okay. That's totally up to them. It's not up to me. Yeah. I'm not there to weigh on you. I'm not there to talk you into a house. I'm not there to talk you out of buying a house. Just give you the facts. This is what it is. This is how much it's going to cost, you know, or this is what you should budget your money for as far as down the road for things that you need to look out for. That's what's really important.
What would you say is the biggest like misunderstanding when it comes to, you know, home inspections and or what people misunderstand about home inspectors?
I think a lot of people think that you know, we're contractors. We're going to provide estimates. That's what a lot of people want. They're like, how much is it going to cost? Tell me. Go through your report and tell me how much everything's going to cost. I'm not an adjuster.
Right.
I don't know how much you're going to charge for a roof. You need to talk to a roofer.
Right.
You know, then so people always want that. They always want those, or they want us to diagnose. Why aren't you going to take it apart and show us what's wrong with it? I don't have time to do that. I got 3 hours. These people, that's the hardest thing about being a home inspector too, is your time.
Yeah.
Because, you know, some of these houses, especially if they're occupied, the minute I open that door, it's like a stopwatch. They're running, I'm on the clock. So I got it. Not only am I doing the best that I can to provide all this information, I also have to be through this house, review everything with them in like 3 hours.
Yeah.
So it's depending on the condition of the house and the size of the house, it can be very challenging. So, you know, that's why you gotta be very efficient of how you move through and be able to check everything. You know, so that's, you have to be able to, you got to be a multitasker and you got to be flexible and be able to move and stuff like that. You know?
And a little bit of people
people communication. For a home inspector, that's one of the biggest skills you can have.
Yeah.
That's because I always say, like, some of my guys, you know, one of my guys is an electrician, one of them used to be a roofer, one of them is an HVAC guy. And I'm always like, that's your special ability. You know, I'm like, you're this, you're that. And I always say mine is people.
Yeah.
Communication is mine. Like, I can read people.
Yeah.
Like, I've always been really good at that. I can talk to somebody. I can talk to them for a little bit. I can read them. I know what their concerns are. I know what they're worried about, what they're not worried about. So I can kind of tune my inspection into what the things that they're going to be more concerned to them. And I can kind of feel them out.
Right.
I'm really good at that. And that helps me be a better home inspector because you can be the smartest guy in the world. You could be an engineer. You built, houses for 30 years. If you can't communicate, you can't talk to people in a real level, like we were talking,
Right.
and be real with them and explain things in ways they can understand, like, layman's terms.
Exactly.
You're not a good home inspector. So it's really important to be able to communicate like that.
Where do you see with AI and all this? We were talking before we turned on the cameras about how I like your content online because you've got some real stuff in there. You got funny stuff. Like I think you can't make those videos anymore.
No, Soar's
right?
gone.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I gotta find a new one. That's why you haven't seen a new video. I was like, oh, they just canceled it. Nobody bought it. I was like, I'm screwed with all my cool videos that I made. But I gotta find new software. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
But I wanted to ask where home inspections is going with AI and with all of the new technology out there these days.
Yeah. So I was thinking of that as we were driving. I figured we'd talk about that. So it's kind of scary. It's because like I was just saying, about qualifications and licensing and that kind of stuff. Even our software that we're using now is starting to implement AI, where it's like you can verbally like start say, hey, there's a damaged floor joist, and then you can hit AI and it'll generate a note for you. You know exactly what it is. It's like, oh, that's easier than typing it, but you gotta be careful.
Right.
AI is not always right, and I've even seen they're premiering new software now where you just take your phone and you take a picture of something, and then AI is gonna write the defect for you.
No way.
I swear. And that is scary. It's like, already, because now you're gonna have people that, again, people trust them, you think they're qualified, and they're just they don't know what they're doing. They're just taking pictures of things and using AI to make them look like they're a smart guy. That's
right.
I worry. I think that's gonna be all different professions and jobs that's gonna bleed into, but I worry about that. It's how long is it till, okay, you're just going to download an app on your phone. You don't need to hire me anymore. You're just going to walk around the house and take pictures of things, and it'll tell you if there's problems with it,
Right.
and now you don't need home inspectors anymore. So I think we're a ways out from that, but the software stuff and the inspectors using that's already here. So
because you did mention drones, and you mentioned, what is it?
IR cameras, thermal imaging.
Yeah, infrared light. Yeah. Yep. So that's, I like that you've implemented those things because they seem like useful tools, honestly. We use drones, for roof inspections.
For you guys, I'm sure that's great now. But that's the one thing about our company too. And again, that's credit to my dad. He's always been ahead of the curve. So that's one thing that we always do. We kind of watch, what's the next thing that's coming in home inspections.
Yeah.
So like infrared cameras, we've been using them for 15 plus years. So, and now all the home inspectors are now, and we the other thing that we always do is we included them for the price of our inspection.
Yeah.
So we're like, every time we come out, all of our guys are gonna have thermal imaging cameras. They're gonna scan your house automatically.
Yeah.
So there's like certain other companies here, they charge like $250 to add IR scan to your home inspection. So when they always say, you're leaving so much money on the table. It's a tool that helps us as a home inspector more than it even helps our client.
Right.
Because there's things that we would miss. That wet carpet in the basement, you would have walked right past it, but you have a thermal image camera. Wow, there's a big wet spot. That carpet's wet.
Yeah.
I would have never seen that.
Yeah.
So there's such a handy tool. As if a home inspector's not using it now, it's a no-brainer. You should find another home inspector because now everybody's using them, and most of them, there's a lot of them now that are including them for the price too, kind of doing what we do.
Yeah.
But we've been using them forever, and then same with drones. We've been using drones almost 10 years now.
Yeah.
So when we first came out, we went up to Cleveland and we went to this place and then we unboxed them all. They taught us how to fly them. We all got a drone license because in order to use them commercially, you need that unmanned pilot's license. So all of our guys are licensed. But we got to always find, and that's exactly, you're kind of on the AI. That's what me and my brother have been saying. It's like, what's the next thing in home inspection? It's AI. I don't know what exactly or where it's going to go or how we're going to use it, but it's AI and how it's going to implement in our business. We need to figure that out. So
do you brainstorm like, how can we use AI?
We do.
Yeah.
That's what I do all the time, man. I sit there with my ChatGPT and I'm like, okay, I got to think about this and what am I going to do this? And okay, how can I help this and make this better and more efficient? And it is.
And I think that's so crucial just in business is just staying ahead of the curve, but also understanding when it's too much.
Yeah.
Right. Because for example, like in from just the sounds of your story and then just inspections in general, very similar business models to what, to Selena's.
Yeah.
Because it's like you can implement drones and certain types of technology and AI, but there's certain things that you shouldn't also implement, right? Like for example, like, you know, there's guys out there that'll give there's this thing called Roofle, where it's like homeowners and they wanted to put it on my website, but I said no. Basically, you go in, you type your address, and then it'll spit out a number. Here's your roof. You know, I'm like, no, there's so many components to our roof
this
price.
Is the quote. This is where you should be quoted.
You know, like here's your roof. You know, boom, $8,000. I'm like, that's. You know,
I've seen some of those. I've seen them.
You know, like just like a quick like spit it out. You know, and I'm like, to me, I'm like, I like if you're gonna spend, like you said, you know, if you're gonna spend $8,000, $10,000 on a roof, I want to meet you and talk to you.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm not just gonna say, hey, here's your roof proposal over email, never meeting you, never knowing who you are.
And there's some people that like that. You know, there's some guys they don't want to. They want to have no communication. They just want to come and do the job, get out. They don't want to talk to nobody. It's like, that's not how you're going to build your business.
Exactly.
Meeting people. That's how we have done what we have done is meeting people, taking care of people.
Exactly.
Taking care of people and showing them that we care. It's all about you care. I care about what I do. That's like, there's people last night when I got on the inspection, they go, you really enjoy your job. I'm like, oh, I do. I love my job. Because you can tell you're very passionate about it. When you talk, like I do. And because I want to provide information. I want to take care of my clients. I want them to know what they're buying.
Right.
You know, I want to be honest with them. I want to be transparent. I always tell them when I'm done, you guys can email me. You have my email address on this card. Anytime you have a question about your house, if you send me an email, I'll respond.
Yeah.
Might take me a little bit, but I'll get to you.
Right.
And I'll you know, it could be 5 years from now. If you have a question about the home or something, I will always respond to you. You're my client. You're my client for life. You know, if I can help you, I will. You need a contractor, call me. Okay.
Right.
So I always tell every client that, and I mean it. I'm not just saying it.
Right. Yeah, no, and I think that's what really, just once again, just hearing how you guys operate just tells me a lot about Erie Inspections in general, as far as like you guys are really building a legacy here, not just like going out there and saying, okay, well, it's going to be $250 extra for infrared light, or
no.
You know, the drone's another $100. You know, it's trying to get people's money essentially.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I really want to take care of you.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's how I say, like, we're a little more expensive. I think a lot of our competition was kind of catching up to our fees, but we always say, yeah, we do. We're a little more upfront, but the package, warranties, the drones, the infrared cameras, all that stuff's included for the price of inspection.
Yeah.
And then we're doing that because we're doing everything we can to make sure we provide as much information for our client.
What's next for Erie Inspections?
Again, growth, man. Like I said, we're finishing on probably another month. I'll have another inspector ready in Toledo. So that's me more getting out of the field and being able to, train my guys more. Because when I'm training, it's very hard. You know, I work on the new guy, and then I got to work on and stay on the other guy. So what I do is I randomly, I shadow the guys. So I just show up randomly. I just pick out on my certain days. I go, okay, pick him. Show up. Hey, Mike, what's up? And he comes to his inspection. He has no idea I'm gonna be there. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And I just evaluate him. So I go with him for the inspection. I just follow him, watch how he talks, just make sure he's not getting rusty. Make sure he's not, because these guys they're almost like independent contractors.
Right.
They don't report. We have our meeting every 2 weeks, but other than that, they're on their own. Their schedule's sent to them. They don't come to the office every day. They have their car. They take their trucks to their house.
Yeah.
So they're free. They love that. They're just, we're not on them. You can eat lunch when you want to eat lunch. Just do your inspections. Be there on time.
Right.
Be professional. So when I pop up sometimes, it's like, okay, yeah, they got to put the, I'm like, this is how you always should be doing, and not just today. So, but continuing to grow our team, and again, Cleveland's our focus right now. So really continue to grow that Cleveland market.
Yeah.
We really want to get bigger there, and then we may start to grow somewhere else. We've talked about maybe moving more up into Michigan or Southern. Like we have Derek, he's in Findlay, he goes into Lima, but we may start kind of coming across towards Columbus is a thought that we've talked about. So, but again, we just, that's what we've always said is like you said, there's a lot of money grabs. There's a lot of home inspection companies that do pest treatment. They do the pest inspection, then they do the treatment. They do mold inspection. Hey, we also clean mold up.
Yeah.
We do radon, and we also put in radon mitigation. To us, that's a conflict of interest. You do the inspection, and then you also sell them when you're done.
Right.
That's pretty shady.
Yeah.
And it's frowned upon in the state of Ohio, but they have little loopholes. They put their business in different people's names and stuff like that. We want to be the best at home inspections. We want to continue to just, when you call us what you're getting. We're going to do a thorough home inspection. We're going to be professional. So we want to continue to do that. We want our reputation to be that. And we just want to continue to educate people and help people. And I think as long as we keep doing that, the company grows.
Yeah.
It kind of takes care of itself.
Yeah. And you mentioned you guys go to conferences and everything. And that's one thing that we're huge on too, because you
big.
learn so much, and there's
Definitely.
new tech and new gear, and it's like I'm always looking at what's up and coming in the industry.
Yeah, we actually just got back in September. We went to New Orleans. So we took our whole team down to New Orleans, right on Bourbon Street. We were right around the corner. That's where the conference was. So we got to have some fun for some days on Bourbon Street, and we had 2 or 3 days of conference. And we took all the girls in our office, so they were sitting through the marketing courses and business administration courses and stuff. And that stuff that really has helped us grow as well. That stuff's it's invaluable of what that has helped us, because you just look at, like you said, you're in a bunch of you're with a bunch of companies usually that are 500,000. Now you're with $2-3 million company.
Right.
Now you listen to the way they talk and things they're doing. Oh, okay, I get it. Like, this is something we should be doing. And then you look at your business, that really helps you grow.
And even looking at you were mentioning way earlier about the group tops.
Top.
Yeah, top.
We called it the Top Inspection Group.
Where you've got an inspection company from east side, East Coast, and then one from the West Coast, and they may be doing things out there that you're like, wait, this is something that I can implement here.
Absolutely. And then sometimes there's it's, oh, this is a totally different market. This would never work here for us. You got to be able to look at that too and realize that, like, why even waste our time on this? This is not something that's going to work for us, but this is something that could be a game changer.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. The marketing, I want to talk about marketing a little bit. I really I like marketing a lot.
Yeah.
And we were talking about just humanizing us in marketing.
Yeah, that's really important.
How do you approach, how do you lead that, I guess?
Yeah, I think, and that's my social media. I really pride myself in, just it's a reflection of me. It's obviously going to be professional, but I like to make people laugh. I like to have a little fun, because if you're just uptight all the time, is that really you? Is that how you act?
Right.
People see through that.
Exactly.
And then they meet you. And it's like, that guy isn't really like that. I think, and I like we're talking about, the world and with AI, and so everything's so tech focused and it's moving so fast. I think there's a lot of people. We hear all these people. We don't want data centers. We don't want. It's taking over everything. People want human. They want, human interaction. They want realism. They don't want everything prompted through ChatGPT and spit out professionally.
Exactly.
I think the more that we get back to human interaction and real feelings and real human emotions, that goes farther with people. And I think people are starting to be able to read through the AI stuff. And I think that you'll succeed more with your social media and marketing than, everything is just an AI bot.
Yeah, because there's this certain template. I don't know if it's ChatGPT, but I see all these competitors and just other people just using this one, like it's like a black and gold template.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is everybody's using.
I know
what
exactly
the heck
what
is
you're talking about.
Like, this
they have for everything, like food trucks. And
I'm like,
it's like red and gold and black.
Yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking. I see it too, and I'm like, yeah, that's AI poster.
And I'm like,
it's like, could you even? But that's the laziness of people. All you got to do is prompt it and say, hey, have it with a black background and you can design the whole thing, but you have to type it. But they just say, hey, make me a roofing flyer.
Exactly.
And it all spits out all this. Everybody gets the same flyer. It's like, if you put little in, you're going to get little out, but so AI can do some pretty amazing things, but you also have to put a little effort in to what you're doing,
Exactly.
It's like mindless drone,
Is there anything you would want to tell, whether it's a new home buyer today that you feel like they should know?
A new home buyer, I would just say, definitely get the inspection. Okay. Even if, like I said, even if it's for information purposes only, even if it's a new house, that was what I was going to say. Everybody thinks new, it's new. I always hear that it's a new. What could be wrong with it? Things could be wrong with it. Okay.
Right.
It depends on who built the house. It depends. Sometimes you got a great builder and they got A, B, and C team. You know that, roofers too. And it's that C team. They cut some corners. They do things a little sloppier, and that could sometimes be a big problem. Depending on what they did and where at, and so just because it's new doesn't mean it's perfect.
Yeah.
You just home inspection is another set of eyes to go through everything and just kind of double check it. We do a lot of like pre-builds. we're doing like pre-drywalls and stuff. We go in and we check out everything before they start framing and
Oh, really?
all the things that are behind the walls and stuff. Yeah. I mean, those are starting to get very popular. So we actually do phases.
Yeah.
We do like with foundation, then we do like a pre-drywall, and then we do a finish.
Do the like general contractors like that? No. Because I was gonna
Of course not.
say
They're making it very hard for us.
Yeah, I was gonna say
they got things with the roof now. You can't step on the roof, but then they hate when they see our drone.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, you have to sign this contract. You guys can't step foot on the roof today." I'm like, "That's cool." Fly my drone up. They're like, "They'll find problems on the roof." Like, yeah. So yeah, they're making a sign. Some depending, like in Cleveland, there's all kinds of contracts you got to sign, and you got to have special insurances now to enter some of their builds and stuff. They're trying to make it as hard as possible for people to get inspections on their builds.
Yeah, and I was actually I was right before you said even new homes. I was going to ask you, with you see homes in and out, all day, every day. Yeah. Old homes that they built in the 20s, and now the ones that they built in the 2020s. And is there a huge or a big like quality difference?
There is. Yeah. I would say, newer homes, we're starting to change some things up. Like the outside of the homes, for the longest time through like I would say maybe late 80s, early 90s into the 2000s, we were using OSB on our exterior underneath the roofs and stuff. That stuff does not hold up to weather, and depending on what they did on the outside, so we even, house wrap, like the building wrap has been code for 20 years, probably 20 plus years. We still find houses 20 years old that didn't have house wrap on them. We found Perrysburg, and if you have exposed OSB and water gets behind it, you can have some serious problems. So I do think that, an old historic home, it's hard to beat. Some of these ones in Toledo, these 100-year-old houses, these things are durable.
Yeah.
These things will stand the test of time, but there's also a lot of maintenance that comes with an old house.
Right.
If you got, depending on what you got and what you got to deal with, I think somewhere in that sweet spot, probably I like an old 60s, 70s ranch, a brick ranch.
Yeah.
Even if it has a crawl space, usually pretty solid.
Yeah.
We think we use plywood for everything.
Yeah.
Just a lot more durable materials that had better drying potentials.
Yeah.
So I would say that's kind of the sweet spot. But I do think with the stuff now, we're using that green board. And green board is sprayed with a chemical to help it resist water better. So it is OSB, but it's a little more durable. And we figured more flashings around like windows and stuff and sealing things tighter. So I think we're starting to get to a place where we're gonna make a pretty solid home again. But there was kind of a path there where especially 90s and early 2000s.
I think greed just kind of came in the picture a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're saying 60s, 70s ranch houses, brick ranch houses is the way to go.
Those are some of the most durable ones that I ever see. Not saying they can't have problems. They can. Right. But I would say like durable structure, those are pretty solid homes.
You don't need to keep up with the siding.
No.
And those houses, I will say, have 1x6 ton and groove, 1x8, 1x10, 12, whatever.
Hardwoods and stuff. Yeah, man. We don't, just durable wood. And, that old wood, it takes such a long time for that stuff to get, the drying potential is so great to get rotted and stuff. It's very rare that you see that, you got to have a real serious problem for that stuff to rot out. Newer homes, like I said, 90s, 2000s, that OSB gets wet and it doesn't take long for it to rot.
It's a sponge.
It's a sponge.
It's what it is at the
vertical mulch. Once it gets wet, it turns into vertical mulch. It falls apart.
Yeah, and it's true. It's true. That's a really great point. 60s, 70s, brick ranch, the way to go.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, as we're wrapping up here, anything? A couple of last questions. What advice would you give to just an up and coming home inspection entrepreneur?
Education. I think I've beat the horse enough here, but education. Like I said, and some of that education comes from experience. So the more inspections you get, the more hands-on you get. Like you were just saying, I'm in so many different houses, different types, different ages. All that is what develops your skill as a home inspector and your experience as a home inspector. So
exactly.
Educate yourself, do the online training. Like you said, go to the conferences. If there's home inspectors in your area that are willing to, meet with you and talk with you and share their insight and stuff, and you can ask questions like a mentor. If you can get a mentor that you can send texts to and talk to, that's huge for you. You're gonna, that's gonna help you grow your business. That's gonna help you become a better home inspector. So just make sure you stay educated and stay up to date on stuff.
Right.
I think that's the biggest problem with home inspectors is They just get set in their ways. It's always been working. I'm doing good.
Yeah.
And, I know everything. And dude, I'm telling you right now, people do not want the home inspector that knows everything. That's, like I said, it's human. They want a real person. I could come in and say, I don't know. I'm not sure about this, but I do know my friend owns an HVAC company. Let me call him.
Yeah.
Because this is a little weird. I'm not sure about this, but he'll know. I'm going to call him and I'll let you know what I find. But if you say, well, I think this is, it's going on. And, and then they're like, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. He's just lied to us.
Exactly.
That's not going to get you far. So, and then those guys that come in and puff their chest up, and the old guys that they know everything, you're not going to teach them anything. They're the worst. That is not what the homeowner, that's not what the buyer wants. That's not what the real estate agents want.
Right.
So you don't want to be that guy.
And I think I think entrepreneurship in general has changed so much because back in the day, if you were the professional, you had to know it all.
Absolutely.
And you were just preaching there. It's not in this day and age, saying I don't know or even saying no.
Yeah.
Super powerful.
Absolutely.
And people are like scared to say. Some people are like, well, I don't want to say I don't know. I'll look clueless or whatever. Yeah, people respect that.
Absolutely.
People like that.
Yeah, they don't want you. And it's again, depending on the person, they can see right through you. If you're lying to someone and they read you, it's like, that's it. Then now they don't trust anything you said. You could be, okay, you didn't know about this, but you lied about this, but you knew all this other stuff. But now you set the tone that they're like, oh, I don't know if I believe, I don't even want to work with this guy. I don't know what he's doing. Exactly. He's lying to me and he's making stuff up. And you don't want to be that person. You got to be honest, and if you don't know, say you don't know.
Exactly.
You don't want to guess.
Are you open to, maybe someone that's wanting to get into the business, reaching out to you and asking you questions,
Absolutely.
Picking your brain?
Yeah, I'm always, you could always email me. You could call the office, send me a message. I will always, I'll always respond. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Jordan.
Thanks for having me.
Is there anything else that you want to mention or say before we wrap up?
If you need a home inspection, there's a lot of great home inspectors in the area, but, we've been doing this for a very long time. We have a lot of experience, and we will always be professional. We'll always be thorough, and we'll always take care of you and make sure you know what you're buying. And that's what we do.
There it is, Jordan. Erie Inspections. If you guys need an inspection, you know where to go.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, brother.
Thanks, Kevin.